The journey worth taking is the journey within you. Everybody has their own story and their own journey to share. Every journey conceals another journey within its lines, the path not taken and the forgotten angle. The journey within you, where you will listen to stories from others sharing their triumphs and struggles that led them to where they are today. Hey guys, welcome to The Journey Within You. I am so pleased and excited to have Janet Morgan with me today as a special guest. She is a mom of a special needs child. She's a military wife, and there's quite a few things that she wants to share with us as she has led her through this journey to where she is today. And Janet, I'm just so thankful to have you on here. I think we've known each other, a couple of years now through a mentor of ours, Brooke Hemingway, who we both adore. And being able to go to a line together, I can't wait to see you in a couple of weeks. I get to hug your neck again.
I
know. It's going to be so good. But I want you to just take some time and take your time. And I want you to share this because I know this is, something very, very important to you, raising your special needs son. And you saw the need out there of other people needing better resources and things. So take it away, honey. Just share your heart.
Okay. So first of all, I want to say how humbled I am that you even thought to share my story. I hope that it does impact others because I feel like as a community, it is so important that we don't feel alone as special needs moms. So I'm super grateful to be on here with you. My journey as a special needs mom, in my opinion, started almost 18 months before my son was even diagnosed. We were at a stage in our lives as a married couple that I really needed to go back to work. We were living paycheck to paycheck, and I needed to bring in more money. But of course, as any stay-at-home mom knows, you have to then turn around and, weigh the benefits. Do I really want to have somebody else raising my child? Is it enough money to make it worth that sacrifice? And then of course, we were military. So, my hours were not free. But as we started looking, we realized that it just wasn't worth it. Like me going back to work and the little bit extra that I would bring into the house in order for me to basically work opposite shifts as my husband and someone else raise my kids, it wasn't going to work. It wasn't good enough for us.
Oh, yeah.
And so that's kind of why I fell into working from home. I found a health and wellness company that sort of fell in my lap. Definitely very God-driven. The person that led me to this company actually took me to church for the first time when we moved to Georgia. So she helped me find our new church there. And I just knew it was where I was supposed to go, even though I really didn't want to go there, which I think is the funny piece of it. I never was that mom that wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. I was never that mom that wanted to work from home. I always envisioned myself like behind a desk, bringing in the income for the family. And so it was, God kind of had to shake me a little and be like, no, like this is the
You're going to be home.
I want you. Yeah, let it go. You're going to love it. And I did. I fell in love with it so fast, thank goodness, because I stuck with it and I built this business up. And that's where, my son's diagnosis came in. 18 months after I started this business, I was able to get it up and running and functioning from home. So I was active with my kids. My son had his diagnosis. Now, he was diagnosed autism level 3. That's the most severe level of autism. He was completely nonverbal at the time. And at the time, he was about 2.5 years old. So pretty old to have no words at all.
Right.
But what this diagnosis meant for our family, what it means for a lot of families, is 40 plus hours of therapies. You're driving your kids to and from therapies. It's a full-time job if you're really giving them everything.
All the resources they need. Yeah.
Yeah, it gets kind of crazy. And so it wasn't until this diagnosis and I really added up how much I had to be at home, let alone the cost of these therapies. A lot of insurances don't cover these therapies, or they only cover like one session a month. One session a month. My child is nonverbal, and you're going to give him one 30-minute session a month.
Like, what is that going to do?
Exactly. And
Mm-hmm.
so it was then that I realized God had placed me on that path for this.
Mm-hmm.
He had set me and my family up for success because he knew that I was going to need to be home. He knew that we were
Mm-hmm.
going to need that income. And there was no way I would be able to drive my kid to and from therapies if I was working out of the house. So
Right.
that's kind of where our journey started. And as I just got introduced to more people, as I met some other special needs families, got more involved with the community, something that I kept hearing over and over again just really crushed me.
Mm-hmm.
It was heavy to hear how many of these families, specifically the moms, felt so alone in the journey.
Mm-hmm.
Like no one understood what they were going through.
Mm-hmm.
Like they were totally lost. When you get your diagnosis, if you have a special needs kid, you know, they
Mm-hmm.
basically throw you in like the deep end of the ocean, okay?
Right.
Like
Right.
not
Right.
the pool, the ocean, okay? And
It's a
they
lot
just
to
kind of,
absorb. I mean, you have to sit there and start figuring things out. Like your whole
and
life
you
kind of
do.
takes a revolving stop.
Yeah, you do. And you know, a lot of people don't realize that when you have to figure it out, it's not just that like a few things shift. It's that your insurance changes. What does my insurance cover? What
Mm-hmm.
kind of therapies does my kid even need? There's there's school therapies, there's, you know, home-based things, so many different things. And a lot of times we're not explained any of them. We
Yeah.
just like Google search, right? So these moms are all feeling very alone, very lost. Um, and that is when I realized that they needed a community. So that was my next big growth with my business, was creating Energized and Empowered. And it was all about changing the narrative around special needs moms from a beaten down, exhausted, feeling lost, you know, narrative to energized and empowered. Like that's simple. Helping moms not only find their optimal health, but link arms with other moms so they didn't feel so alone and so that they could feel empowered again around this diagnosis.
Mm. Mm.
I mean, all moms are incredible, right? But
Right.
special needs
It's
moms, they fight. Like they fight really hard for their kids. They're warriors. So it really broke my heart to see, you know, so many of them crushed essentially and lost. And so
Well, I think
that's
they
what I
feel
hope to
almost
communicate.
like a failure. They start to blame themselves. This is just me thinking because I have no clue. I mean, I did drive a school bus and I had children that were, diagnosed as special needs and I could see the days that they struggled and in the mom's faces of, I don't know what to do today. They got up
Yeah,
this feeling this way and, every day was different. You couldn't say this is how they're going to be every single day. Every day was different. And so
every
I
day is
just,
different.
oh,
Yeah, it's really hard. And there's, you know, getting them into therapies and stuff like that, you can help figure out certain ways to manage their day a little bit better. But at the end of it, just having a community that gets it can be really empowering, you know?
well, you've got each
Um,
other praying for each other. You've got resources that one may have that you didn't know about that you can
yes.
share with each other. Um,
Yeah.
I'm sure
Even
there's
just, sorry,
a lot of
even just
learning
going through the
tools.
hard.
Yeah, there's a lot of
Mhm.
learning tools, that y'all can share within each other. And that's pretty awesome, I think. What is like a typical day for you, and when you get up with him and I think he's actually saying some words now, isn't he?
Yes, yes. I don't think technically would be considered nonverbal, but he
Uh,
still is speech delayed. He's 7, he'll be 7 in February, which is pretty exciting. But he's pretty good at communicating at this point. At least with people who know him, he can communicate enough.
mm-hmm,
So our days have gotten a little easier, and that's all because of the therapies. Like,
mm-hmm.
I was very blessed to have a doctor who diagnosed and was like, you need to do all of these things.
Awesome.
So that's what
Yeah.
we did, all of these things. But a lot of people aren't given that guidance, you know. Um, so our day, oh my goodness, our days are different. That's kind of what special needs looks like. Every day is different. Typically, I'm getting him up far earlier than I need to because I don't know how he's going to wake up. I want to be sure that he's regulated and heading to school like in a good, solid state. And so that's typically, what early mornings look like. At school, he has a BT, which is basically like an aide that follows him around and helps him out, helps him communicate, just gives him the different resources that he needs inside the school. Again, another blessing from God, right?
Right.
And then we also do outside therapies. So we have horseback riding therapy that really strengthens his core. A lot of special needs kids have gut health issues. It's just part of the trade. And then we have speech therapies, occupational therapies, feeding therapy.
Yeah.
It's a busy day.
A busy schedule.
Yes.
But as long as you're seeing improvement, I mean, that's the blessing. You start seeing him being able to feel a part of everything and not outside of everything. He's, finding ways to communicate and move and do the things. That's exciting.
It is. It's so exciting. And I feel like this community, especially for autism, it's so misunderstood. I mean, my son is honestly probably smarter than me. I'm like not making that up. He is like ridiculously a genius over here when it comes to his math.
Yeah.
And these kids just like they need the people around them to know how they learn. And if we as a community can learn how to teach them, I think that they honestly will change the world. But that's one mama's opinion. So
yeah. We have those. We have a right to have them. So for one thing that you could probably share today, what would it be that you would want to tell a mama that probably just got that diagnosis this week? And what would be something you'd want to share from your heart to her that might help her just feel encouraged this week?
I would say that everything your child needs is within you. You've got it. You've got it all. And despite what everybody else might tell you, there's no right answer. There's no right answer.
Right.
There is an answer that is best for your child, and it's going to look different for every child. And only you as mom will have that answer. So just listen to your gut. Take in the information, but at the end of the day, like it all comes down to just what you feel your child can handle, can do, what the right answer is for him is.
That's so good.
It's anyone.
Right. Right. Because I'm sure there's a lot of opinions that come at you so fast, once the diagnosis that, oh, you got to do this, you should do that. This is what I did. And yet, like as the mom, your child and you need to back up and just take a moment and decide, this is what I think he needs, and this is what I'm going to go with. And if it doesn't work, you have other options. You're not, like you said, it's not, you've got it within you. So you just got to keep trying the things until you find, and it's going to change, as it gets older, I think the needs are going to change, right?
Yes, Laura, you said it right there. Okay. If it doesn't work, just try something different. You can always make a different decision, because your children do change. I mean, that's true for any kid, right?
Oh, yeah.
And if it's not working, it's okay. Just make a different decision, but don't stress over it. Yeah.
I remember raising a teenagers, and like I was telling Melody this morning, God saw fit for me to do it twice because I had my granddaughters. And I'm like, I don't know what he's thinking here because I struggled with the first round, but we did it again. And I remember people saying, or I was always researching, what's the best thing to do with a teenager and all their mood swings. And, everything was different. Everybody had their opinion, but you had to find what worked within your household. And if just because it worked over in that house really, really well, it may not work so well in your house. And don't beat yourself up over it because it didn't, And so, it's just a learning. It's a learning curve for sure. But what about does food play a big part in his nutritional aspect of it all?
Yeah, that's actually a pretty big scary piece, at least for my son. He is in feeding therapy, but he has, because of his sensory disorders, he has a lot of dislikes towards food.
Mm-hmm.
Things, if they slightly change color, slightly change shape, things like that,
Mm-hmm.
weird textures. And so it's something we've had to work through pretty aggressively throughout his life because we've been so nervous about him getting enough nutrition. I mean, there was a time there that all he wanted was bread and apples.
Wow.
Like, I
Yeah.
wish I was exaggerating, but those are the only two things he wanted to eat. And so we had to find, our ways around that. And obviously, I'm a big advocate for supplements,
Right.
especially with our special needs community, because again, their gut health is, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
they are born with guts that need help.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then to top it off, we still give him baby food, like the pouches,
Mm-hmm.
because it's the only way he gets certain
Get the
nutrition in him. But
nutrition in him. Right. Thank goodness for
mhm.
those. Yeah. Those
Yes,
have been
yes, because they
that's
have like
good.
everything in them.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah. And he didn't know it. He
Yeah,
didn't
so
realize
we
that
keep,
was in there. So that's
nope,
good.
he's got no idea there's broccoli in that one.
Yeah, yeah, I love it. I'm glad he had that and has that. So I figured that played a big part, especially with the sensory things, because I'm kind of funny about, different textures. And so I can imagine a child with sensory issues, food. Wow, mama's got to figure out now how to feed their child and keep them healthy, and
Yeah,
nutritional
yeah.
wise. Mm-hmm. On
And there's a
top,
lot of shame around that with parents too, because you think about like, oh, they're just a picky eater. No,
yeah,
no, it's far more than
it's
that.
a lot
It's
more than
another
that.
level.
Mm-hmm. And if you find something that works, so what if he eats it every day? At least
Yeah.
he's getting that in him. And then you were able to put those pouches in and let him get a little bit more nutrition, and that worked. That's good. Um, as I was thinking, you have a daughter, right?
Yes, I do.
How has that been for her as a sister and working through knowing that her brother is a little bit different than and needs a little extra care and help? How has that been for her?
I mean, she is incredible. I've been blown away by the kind of human that she has become around it. Just so caring and so loving. She always has been.
Oh,
But when it comes to her brother, she is just a huge advocate for him. She has like set up clubs and stuff at school to raise awareness, and she wants to start her own actual like YouTube channel to talk about like what's it like to be, a sibling of special needs. And
that's awesome.
I'm blown away by her, honestly, because,
Mm-hmm.
she does want to raise awareness, and she wants to tell everyone how ridiculously smart he is and incredible. And she just loves him to death. As far as like how much his affect her, I feel like that's kind of her story. She's going to have to tell us that story one day.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
I hope that, being a sibling to a special needs child, has impacted her in a positive way.
That's good because some probably would, I'm sure there's other parents out there struggling if they do have the siblings, and some of them just don't understand it. And I think it all comes back to as you sit down as a family and explain what's going on and, use it as a learning tool. And she's taken it in a positive way to do that. And that's so cool. Encourage her to do that. I love it. That'll be
I
so
know.
neat to
I'm
see
so
her.
proud.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so proud. I can't
Yeah.
wait. She's going to do big things. I believe
Yeah,
it.
yeah. That will be so helpful for other siblings. I mean, I'm sure there are those out there that are just like angry, all the emotions. Why does he have to
Hmm.
have all this attention? Here I am. I need, all that. It's just the normal stuff anyway in siblings to get jealous of each other. But to have that on top of it, I know can be a little bit harder. So that's cool
For
that she's
sure.
taken a positive light on it. So Janet,
Yeah.
I appreciate you coming on today. I know that this is a journey that you have relied in your faith and leadership with God to help you through it, to make decisions and do the right thing for your son. I know that the family, the communities around that you're going to be impacting are going to benefit from what you're teaching them and sharing with them. And just keep doing that, because you're changing lives by doing that and you're encouraging them and lifting them up. So that's just a true blessing. But I just
Oh,
thank you for taking the time. And, it's been fun to hear about what all you're doing. And we'll come back again because I know as he gets older, there will
yes.
be some things that we need to learn more about. So I'd love to have you back one day.
I would love that. And I love what you're doing with this podcast. It is incredible. So thank you so much for having me.
Well, thank you. You have a good afternoon.
You too. Bye.
Thank you.